get into it. Get my
What's
audio.
what's been your reaction, or what's been the reaction to the debate that you're getting?
To the more interesting I mean, my reaction, I think people are all over the place, really. Well, we're live now, so we're gonna have our audience come in. You know, let's do this. Let's just chat for a few minutes, and then I'll do a proper introduction because it takes people a few minutes for the stream to populate. So, anyhow, for those that are here, we are just gonna sort of wait a second or two to get everyone on the same page. But what do you? I mean, there's going to be a lot to dissect. What do you think if you could give an artificial intelligent response to everything that's going on online, what do you think it is?
Of the Devin stuff, or what are we talking about?
Yeah. Devin? The Devin stuff.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about debate last night. I mean, look, I have no problem with Devin defending himself. He obviously was getting attacked from every which way, so I figured he was going to speak out. However, this platform that he took and what he decided to show, I think, was the wrong attack or the wrong way to go about it. And so, of course, he has every right to defend himself. I just think he didn't do it in a good way. I thought he'd go on Nick's podcast, and when he revealed what he did yesterday, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me because, and I brought this up on my podcast today because somebody brought it up to my attention. Like, well, how can you say that it was okay for Blake Horstmann to release texts, private text conversations between him and Kaylin, and this isn't fine? I said, well, there's a major difference. Blake Horstmann's texts that he revealed were refuting specific allegations made against him. It was like, this was what was said about me on the show. This is what I was being accused of. Here, these texts prove I was not accused of this. What Devin did was totally different. Devin just ran 100 texts across the screen like it was his background wallpaper.
Yeah, he said,
it's just like,
said,
hey,
here's the info.
Look at everybody.
Figure it out.
Used to talk about, and it's just like, huh? If he would have said, okay, Jen said this, here's a text to refute this. Jen said this, here's a text to refute this. I wouldn't have had a problem with that, but that's not what he did. So
yeah, no, that's a great point. Let's do this. Let's dive in. We have 300 people, and we'll keep going. I've got Steve tagged in the title, so make sure to follow Reality Steve across his Instagram and also on his YouTube and every podcast and everything else. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live stream reaction to the Bachelorette Jen's ex-fiance Devin releasing the nuclear codes. He really just laid it all out there. I'm joined by Spoiler King Reality Steve here, and we're going to discuss the fallout. We've decided to not share the text messages. I'm sure they're out there. People can go find them, but they were kind of not with both parties' consent. And I think just listening to what Devin has to say will be enough for us to sift through. Did you walk me through what's going on in the Reality Steve empire when you get probably 1,000 text messages from people going, oh my gosh, this happened. Do you just drop your cat and run to the computer? Like what happens yesterday at 4 p.m.?
Yeah, the first thing I saw was it with my own eyes because I followed Devin. I had not gotten a text or a message yet. I saw it and I watched it. I started watching it, but before I started watching the video, I didn't look at how long the video was. I was just like, okay, let's see how. I saw Devin posted a video. I started watching it because it was on his feed. I started watching it, but then I double clipped the screen so you could see the time bar at the bottom because it was going for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm like, wait, how long is this? And then I saw at the end it was 13 minutes. I'm like, oh geez. But then I started getting stuff sent to me. People were sending it to me. I watched the full thing and then I reposted it on my Instagram story and said Devin has spoken, but he didn't address any of the accusations that people seem to want to know about him. Were there any other women involved? What about the girl in New York 2 weeks before after the final rose? Why did you break up with Jen? There's still none of that was addressed. And that's why I said that was my other problem with what he did yesterday. He didn't address the things that we wanted to know. All he wanted to show us was like, hey, look, Jen and I were cool at times during our relationship. But when there was no dates and no timestamps of everything, and certain parts of the text conversation were blacked out. That seems like we were getting a narrative that he only wanted us to see things that made him look good. And I had an issue with that.
Yeah. So walk me through the feeling of reading this text. This will be the only text I'm going to share. It says, walk me through reading this text. So you're not sleeping, you're reading Reality Steve.
That is awesome. Devin Strader reads Reality Steve before he goes to bed. How about that? Like,
I mean, it makes two of us, Steve. I mean, what do you want, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, man, you and Devin and probably others read Reality Steve before bed. But it's funny because if you scroll down on that text a little bit, you see it. Can you scroll down on that one, or that's all you got?
Oh, there it is.
So then it says Monday, July 1st. Well, her first episode didn't air until Monday, July 8th. So this is a week before this show even aired. And look, I put out the spoiler that Devin was engaged to Jen on May 31st on my birthday. So we were a month in before she sent that, or before she said. So he had been, I guess, rating me for a month. I don't think he had just turned me on. And I'm assuming that text was sent July 1st, even though the text after it said July 1st. Maybe it was before. But now, I'm assuming these two were talking every day. So yeah, it was either July 1st or June 30th. But yeah, I wish we could have seen what the rest of that said. No, I'm sleeping. I just got a text from who texted you? You know,
well, it wasn't me. I'll tell you that much. Now, I mean, look, you're like the dirty secret. No one talks about from the lead standpoint. They all know you, but you know, now we get to see privately that you're quite the conversation starter here in Bachelor Nation.
Yeah. Did they have pillow talk about Reality Steve and what he said? I don't know, but you know, Dave, like you said at the open, I just want to make this clear for people who are tuning in right now. I had teased it on my podcast this morning that you and I were going to dissect all the texts. And I got a weird feeling last night. I literally was thinking about it after I recorded my podcast. I was like, you know what? Jen didn't consent to these texts being put out there. And it's not just the sexual ones that we're not going to go over. We're not going to go over any of the texts. That one is just more of a silly one. But to sit here and dissect all the things that they privately said to each other, which was really a dick move on his part, to do that without her consent. Again, what was the point? You know, he said at the very beginning of the video, like, look, I'm not doing this to attack Jen, or I'm not doing this to make Jen look bad. And it's literally, that's what the 13 minutes were, to make Jen look bad. So I don't buy anything this guy is selling. And just so people know who are just tuning in that didn't hear you in the very open, you know, we're not going to show any of the texts because it was non-consensual on her part. So why I feel creepy doing it.
Yeah. And I had the same intuition. I blurred out yesterday's video. So I ran to YouTube. I had my son August in my hands. I threw him to my wife. I literally launched him and it said,
catch.
We have that term that she knows, which is like, get out of the way. We have a video to make, I'll buy you a purse. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like we got shit to do. And then I made the video. And as I was airing and watching his reel, because I knew it was 13 minutes, I was making the thumbnail at the same time just because we were so late to go to some fair. By the way, which we saw Lauren Lane at, Ben Higgins' ex. We saw her and Chris Lane just randomly in Tennessee. I felt like such a Nashvilleian.
So the Tennessee State Fair was yesterday?
No. August already won the state fair, the coveted 0 to 3 month division. He's the cutest boy in Tennessee. No questions about it. He did poop his pants before. He still won with a dirty diaper. Put it that way. Yeah. No, this was just a local, street market or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Where they ripped you off with $12 lemonades, but we did it. And, but anyhow, I was, shocked and I'm watching it, making the video live. In YouTube, in post, you can blur things. We blurred it. It's like people, and by the way, I did see someone say that it might be deleted. So let's just go to his Instagram. I'm going to hit refresh. Let's see if it's still up. So when
the video might be deleted.
Yeah. When I hit this, it might be deleted. I don't see it there. So let's just see here. Let me hit return. There it is. So it was literally deleted moments ago, it appears. Let me go to his Instagram here and we'll figure it out. So just either way,
just like his apology was deleted. He apologized. He had that thing, that giant thing, and then he deleted it.
Yeah, here's his apology, which we covered. And look, I don't know if he cannot be sued over this, as far as I know. But there may have been that feeling of don't admit an apology. I honestly don't know. To reflect what you said, and actually Bruce in the comment section said it too. Bruce might have been kidding, but it's accurate. He said it should have been a PowerPoint. What Devin should have done, and I already shared this in a video, was he should have, and again, it would have taken a lot of multimedia. He should have clipped everything she said that he wanted to respond to. He could share snippets of text messages, but highly redact things and just share pertinent timestamps. And if anyone wanted to call him out on those timestamps, you could see the full thing, privately or whatever. But if you only get one shot to share your side like this. Yeah. And he got 1 million views on that reel and has since deleted it now twice. Maybe he'll re-upload it, taking off the third sex message. Look, sex messages are fine. If you want to look at my DMs with my wife, it's like pick up toilet paper at Costco. We are long past the days of a sexy message. But that doesn't bother me, but I understand it is privacy and all that. But I mean, what are your thoughts on, and we'll get to the video in a second, but what are your thoughts on Jen's generalization of what went down versus, and again, take out the sort of betrayal of trust and all of that, Jen's characterization versus what you believe now after what Devin has said?
It's really tough to know because I just didn't feel like I got enough substance from Devin. I got a lot of generalizations. Like you said, I wish he would have addressed specific things. It seemed like his video yesterday was just to say, look, we had texts back and forth in the 3 months that we were together where she was clearly into me and I was telling her I love you back. Like, okay, I never got the impression that they weren't together for 3 months. She just said she felt like he had checked out the second the cameras went off. And we didn't see any texts between them that I'm sure happened where he was the one being a dick to her. Like, I've got to believe that those exist. But he, like I said, the texts that he chose to show were only the ones that there was plenty of things blacked out, which is why the sexual text being in there, it's like, look, you took the time to go through these texts and black out stuff you didn't want us to see, but you left that in 3 times. It's just, he's hard to believe. I have a hard time believing anything he says. And, call it bias, whatever. I just tend to believe what Jen said because it lines up with what I was told for 3 months about this guy. This guy isn't like, no, Steve, he's a great guy and he was 1,000% into Jen and he wanted to make it work. No, I was told from the very beginning, this guy knows nothing about the show. He had never even watched the show before. And then when he was love bombing her from hometown dates on, and then Jen says all that stopped, it's like, yeah, because he didn't even know what he was doing. I think he was trying to win competition. He wasn't trying to win Jen, or he was trying to win Jen, but he wasn't believing the things that he would say. And I know it's such a cliche, but actions speak louder than words. So honestly, anything he said in a text to her doesn't really strike me all that. I don't care if he was telling her he loves her in text. It's actions. You can say all you want, but it's just words. You're in a relationship. You've been in a relationship with your wife for, I think, over 10 years now. It's like, after a while, just saying things, it's okay for the woman to question you. And it seemed like that's what Jen was doing sometimes in those text messages that we did read. It was just like, but I don't know if I believe you. And he's trying to present it to us like, look, I was telling her and she wouldn't believe me. God, she's driving me crazy. I can't do anything right. But what were you doing action-wise to show her that you really believe that you were in love with her? It seems like he was doing nothing.
When I get back from a vacation with my wife, I immediately go into like work mode because I'm always like, wow, we took time off. I need to go hustle. And she's kind of one of those like, no, like she's like, let's go get Chinese food. Like her vacation doesn't end when we come back from the airplane, and we have different styles of kind of what we're trying, like hustle levels. Yeah. And I wonder, and again, we don't know any of this. I don't think we learned any of this yesterday, but I wonder if he's going back to work and she's dealing with the anxiety and the pressures of the show. It was so interesting to see that they both talked trash to Reddit, which again, everyone knows the cesspool of judgment that comes from there. But they're on that same page where like she was the lead of the show and she felt the anxiety and pressure. Kind of feels like Rachel Recchia, who was really never the bad. She was never a villain. She never had a bad edit, but she still had a hard time watching her season back. And so to hear them at least discuss how, and Jen said this in interviews, how every Monday night was the worst night of her life because she had to relive all of this. It really goes to show that one of the issues isn't necessarily the edit, but the audience, right? I mean, the audience puts this insurmountable pressure on them. Even, I mean, look, if The Bachelor was your favorite football team and you knew they were only going to quote unquote win 5% of the time, you wouldn't have high expectations. So why does the audience have such high expectations for these people when it's a show built on failure?
Yeah. You got to look at the track record. I mean, more often than not, these couples are going to break up. Now, some might last 3 months after the After the Final Rose, 6 months. Some might last a year. Some might not even make it to the After the Final Rose, like Jen and Devin. But it's kind of why I do what I do and give the spoilers out, because I've always said, giving the spoilers to the show, like I don't want to be spoiled in anything else in my life. I don't read the end of books. I don't want to know what happens in movies before I go see them, because I want the suspense. There's really no suspense for me here with this show. I don't care if people know who ends up with who, because ultimately it's probably going to end up in a broken engagement. So it's like, what's the big deal about knowing? And honestly, again, I say this all the time too. If I didn't give spoilers, all you really have to do if you wanted to take the time would be to study the 3.5-minute video at the end of the first episode that previews everything that's happening this season. And you can kind of figure out who lasts long. Like, the show gives away a lot in their previews for what's upcoming this season. So I don't want to say you almost don't need me, because you do need me. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that this isn't some Sherlock Holmes television show where you're literally on pins and needles every week and trying to figure out these major clues of everything. It's a simple, silly dating show where somebody's going to get chosen in the end, and they're probably going to break up. And some are more tragic than others. I think we can probably both agree this has to be the ugliest breakup. We've had some ugly ones. Becca and Ari had to film theirs, and Rachel and Tino, and there were others, but this has easily been the ugliest breakup I think we've ever seen on this show.
Well, you know what's interesting, though? I don't disagree. It's definitely the messiest, but it's almost though it's the first one to really bring the audience into it in a different way, because he's not exactly slamming Jen at all. And she's not, I mean, she is slamming him, but like, you know, she's doing it in a very kind way. I think she's going,
stuff for the fuck Devin stuff at the bar, but I had no problem with that either. Like,
I have no problem. But here's my thought. It's like, if you're going to do that privately, everyone's like, yeah, F that guy. Every one of your friends comes forward when you go through a breakup. Yeah, that guy was the worst. We thought so all along. Thanks for telling me. But publicly, if she does say something, and again, he just did not do a good job communicating this, but if she does say something that he can refute, then like, so be it. This was an interesting comment I saw. Someone said, I feel conflicted because clearly some of these texts never should have been leaked. But honestly, he does provide a lot of context that was missing or intentionally obscured previously. Now, this might not be like, there might be a lot left on the table, a lot of meat left on the bone. But what's interesting with the internet, and you see this with politics and a lot of things, that the dissenting opinion does not want to be shared online. But when someone does share that opinion, it gets a lot of upvotes. So there are a lot of people that feel like he deserved the chance to talk. I'm on the judicial mindset, which is, if she is going to go on podcasts, she has every right to. He has every right to respond. I think we both agree he just botched it big time. And if I said this before, if I ever like saw him in the elevator for 10 seconds, I'd be like, bro, take the extra week and do this the right way, you know? And, you know, that's not what happened here. Do you want to jump into the video?
Yeah. And the other thing I want to do is I want to count how many different outfits he had, because usually it's just a video where you're just sitting there talking. He definitely has at least 2 different outfits. So clearly he did this on different days. So this wasn't just thrown together last minute, yet he still botched it. So black shirt here. Okay, this is one, but his Reality Steve merchandise shirt was in the wash.
Yeah, where was that? All right, just tell me, just interject at any moment and I'll pause.
Hey y'all, I know there are plenty of people upset
Hear
with
that?
me right now, but
Yeah.
I wanted to come on here and hopefully try to give a little more context to the situation due to the things being said about me. All I'm looking to do here is tell my side, take accountability, and apologize for some of the things that I wasn't able to say at AFR. Disclaimer again, this is my truth, and by no means am I looking to denounce Jen in any way. By no means am I looking to come at her in any way or say anything negative about her. All I'm trying to do here is show that this was a two-way relationship, and I think we could both be held accountable. I am no way sitting here trying to say I was perfect throughout that relationship.
What'd you say?
He's reading. There's something off screen that he keeps looking at that he's reading. So this also makes it a little bit more insincere to me when he can't.
Oh yeah, no, look, I mean, when you compare this to the Rachel Kirkconnell who just like spoke from her heart, she did a really good job. This is, but I also, I don't blame somebody who's every word, wants to get every word right. Sadly, I wish he worked on some of the other production value stuff as well.
Relationship, but I am looking to clear up a few rumors and the false narrative that's being said about me. To start, I want to briefly show a few texts between Jen and I directly after leaving the show, as well as a few texts leading up to right before AFR. I think that'll show a little bit of perspective from my side, as well as from a relationship standpoint.
The only reason that I'm showing these texts in the first place is to give a little bit more context into why I reacted the way I did when stepping onto the stage at AFR. Again, a week prior, as you can see here, August 27th, I was told that we were on good terms and we were friends. The next screenshot that you see here is,
by the way, this does kind of answer the question as to why he was sort of laughing at the commercial break where he said, is this a joke? So whether or not it was due to his own sort of, I don't know, optimism, he thought he was going into a decent conversation, not a knife fight, it seems.
Yeah.
3 hours prior to AFR, where she basically sums up that even though things weren't perfect between our relationship, she'll always cherish the love between us. And no matter what happens, she'll always be rooting for me. She specifically says, no matter how things play out on TV. Another big thing that I wanted to address was that I broke up with Jen over a 15-minute phone call. On the day that we broke up, I wasn't acting weird. I really wanted to get to that happy couple and have that conversation with her in person. The rest of this really just shows the text the morning of our breakup and subsequently the fallout that happens afterwards. As you can see, there are multiple different occasions where I do say that I really want to meet up in person to say this. She basically forces this out of me. She says that I call her, which was not the case, at which point I did feel the need that I owed her that conversation. I did try to meet up with her. I did try to go to the happy couple, and she did not let me.
I'll say this. If you're going to break up with somebody, you can't. It's almost like if you're going to get fired, you can't, if you're going to fire someone, you can't let them know they're about to be fired. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
like by saying we need to talk, you're kind of like, of course, like there's who in their right mind would want to wait a day or two? It's like, all right, tell me what you want to say.
Yeah. So it's almost like, should we get mad at the breakup over the phone if he said, look, I want to see you in person, but she knew what he was going to say in person. She's like, well, you just say it now. And then if it ends up being the breakup, then it's just like, okay, so I don't know. I'm conflicted about that.
I'm not hung up on the phone breakup. Like this to me is like a neutral dating thing. I'm not like one side scoring to the other. That's where I stand right now from what we see. If we are like, like, I don't know, calling shots. It's to me, I'm like indifferent based on the information as to whether he's at fault versus her. If you're going to break up with someone, it's like, and not to make it political, but it's like when they pulled out of Afghanistan, it's like, okay, well, yeah, it was a disaster. What did you expect? You know what I mean? It's a breakup. I mean, maybe that's a really terrible analogy, or maybe it's a spot on one, but it's like, show me all the clean breakups you know about. This would have been, but also the producers, they're probably kicking themselves because they could have easily filmed this. This could have been, here's what's interesting to me. Ari was a villain. He left, he took the ring off of Becca Kufrin, but it all was on camera. So it was almost resolved right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would this have played out better if they filmed the breakup at Happy Couple?
I mean, we've seen it before, and, it always made for interesting TV. I also think it would have been handled a little bit differently because, what we saw was live on stage. It was their reaction. They hadn't seen each other. It was just bizarre. I want to get back to one point that you just made. I can't wait to see the Reddit headline tomorrow that says Dave Neal compares Jen and Devin breakup to Afghanistan. It's coming. It's
I think it's a fair comparison. It's like war, and
you know how Reddit reacts.
I don't read it anymore. If it's got my name in the title, I have a strict policy. Take my phone away.
Saying that she didn't deserve to go if it was just going to be a breakup. So I didn't really know what else to do. She kind of forced my hand.
All right, so he shares a bunch of text messages.
This is only going to be a glimpse. This isn't going to be every single text that Jen and I have ever seen.
What is the point? He's just ripping through. It's like, what are you showing this for? Like, if I had a question for Devin after all this, this whole scene right here where you're just like, hey, this is just showing us talk. It's like, why? What was the point? What is it proving? We knew you guys were together at least until August 1st. So I expected you to have text conversations. I expected there to be explicit text conversations for two people that were still dating and were having a long distance relationship. So you kind of got to need that little, sexual frustration that I can't see you and I can't wait to see you stuff. Like we've kind of all been there. And I think most of us have, but what was the point of that?
Not you and I. I mean, we do enjoy going to Vegas, but my heart is full.
I don't say I yearn for you in my text until we see each other again.
I get it. No, I mean, look, if I was a teacher, I'd say, Devin, just redo. This isn't an F, this is a redo. And I think he should redo it. It's just not going to hit as hard if he redoes it the right way. And that was the whole thing. It's like, it was just a bad rollout.
Sent to each other every single conversation that her and I have had. But I think it's important to highlight the highs and the lows of our inner workings of what went on in between our relationship and while we were together. There's a lot of false narratives being pushed about that right now. And there's a lot of false statements being given out. So I'm really here to set the record straight. And hopefully I can do that by providing a little bit of clarity into the day-to-day lives that Jen and I experienced while we were together. The highs, the lows, the good, the bad. But really the effort and the love that I had for this woman, because I know that's getting confused by a lot of people based off of Jen saying that I pulled away immediately after Hawaii. But I actually only ever pulled away and started becoming distant post breakup. And not just right after our breakup, we're talking about almost the end of the month breakup.
And yeah, I was trying to move on with my life. As hard as that is to say, I needed that for my own happiness. Again, a relationship is two people are involved. And this wasn't August 6th when I did that. This was closer to the end of the month. And I only did that because it felt like I was leading her on. I felt guilty because in her mind, it felt like she was holding on to something that wasn't there for me. And I had been honest with her in person about where my heart stood at the last happy couple at the end of July, where we met up in person, talked all night about this.
I wanted to also address Jen's false claims that I was immediately pulling away from the relationship as soon as we left Hawaii. I'm going to be showing you guys disclaimer.
He kind of prosecutes the same point twice here. Yeah. Look, anything he does post breakup, I don't care about. Could it be bad optics? Yes, but if they are both single and he wants to go, to Amsterdam and whatever the hell he wants to do, that's on him. I personally don't care about that. As bad as it looks, like catching him with an ex or whatever, find me somebody who doesn't rebound after a breakup. People deal with it differently. The best way to get over someone is to get under. So whatever. Everyone's different. I don't care about that.
That's what Haktua girl said.
No, did she? I mean, there you go. Yeah.
Before the Haktua line, that was one of the things that was part of her video that's made her now a podcast where she's probably making 10 times more than both of us combined.
I know. And you know what? I'm all for it. That's the U.S., baby. We're all one good line away from making it. We're also one line away from being canceled.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as Devin's like, you're telling me. So, yeah, it's just, again, more examples where he's just missing the mark. But I'm
going to be showing you guys the phone calls from the day after our breakup, August 5th, and every phone call thereafterwards leading up to AFR. Our last phone conversation was actually just under 2 weeks prior to stepping out on that stage on the 3rd of September.
These are the missed calls from Jen the night that we broke up that coincide with the text from the earlier portion of this video. Afterwards, we did have multiple different conversations regarding the breakup, as you see. At no point did I ever leave her in the dark, and I was very open and honest about everything that I stood for.
Now, I like these receipts because it's guiltless. It's nothing personal, but it does show that they did communicate. You know what I mean? One of her big things was, he left me and then he wouldn't answer my calls. Does this show that there's a little bit more to the story than what she was saying?
I mean, I'm seeing the dates kind of spread out here, like one call on August 15th, for 34 minutes. Okay, then what was the next? Like I said, it just seems like he's picking and choosing things here of what, and then a 32-minute call the next day and a 1-minute call the next day.
Well, it's certainly not, he never called me back. This is not a ghosting scenario at the very least. You know, folks that have defended him have said, look, he's a business owner. He's got this, he's got that. Look, I don't think, you know, even the president can respond to a text. I always say this, like we all have to go to the bathroom. We all love the chance to respond to a text. But you know, he does show that there were phone calls made. She did flat out lie. I don't blame her. She lied in an interview.
Dave, can you take me off real quick? I'm getting a call 3 times in a row now, and I kind of need to answer this.
Sure, go for it. Yeah,
you just ramble yourself. Take me off, and I'll tell you when
I'll ramble you. Go, call me when you're back. All right, there he is. Reality Steve, folks. He's getting breaking information. We'll have to see what it is live on the channel here. Well, does he know something we don't? Oh, I love it. I can see him on the phone right now. He looks like my agent. He looks like he's doing my taxes right now. He's just crunch. He's got a calculator, folks. He's holding a calculator. All right, I'll read your super chats. We only have one of them. It is our good pal Chris said, we love a public live. Take my money. For sure we will. We will be live on Patreon right after this, patreon.com/Dave Neal. And look, folks, I always say vote with your dollar, vote with your support. If you enjoy reality, Steve and I covering this, make sure to give him a follow him on YouTube. You know what I mean? I've been, some people have that scarcity mindset where they want to hold on to what they have. Steve's been very generous to me as a friend, talking shop. He's introduced me to advertisers. He's been a good guy, and I like to support my friends, and I wanted to help him grow his channel as much as possible. So he's got his YouTube channel where he's been posting, I think, his weekly interviews. So leave him a comment, hit the like button, all that jazz. Look, there aren't many incentives to cover this because the audience can be so toxic. I mean, people will be upset that we're even discussing it as if my opinion holds any more weight than anyone else's, But I do think, as I've said all along, from the moment the show ended, look, we didn't get to hear Devin's side. You could swap their names out, swap their genders out. I don't care. We did not get to hear his side. And you might say, well, he had his chance. No, he walked into the lion's den, folks. He walked into the lion's den, and that was it. Steve's getting spoilers. I'm seeing what he's saying. He's saying the next Bachelor. No, I don't know what he's saying. So we'll wait till he's back. But maybe he's pressing it. Maybe he's getting Olive Garden Postmated to his house. I'm not really sure. I'll be honest with you. I'm hesitant to read the public comments. Y'all were really rough, to be quite honest, after the after show. And I've had to think of ways to do 2 things. A, protect my mental health. And B, continue to be authentic and tell you how I feel about this. Anyone can say whatever they want in the comment sections. I get that. I respect that. But it's wild sometimes how people will take general good faith conversation and think I'm slamming Jen or whatever. No, look, I've said this all along. When you break up with somebody, you're entitled to go to your friends and say, oh, that guy was the worst. We love you. Ah. But when you do it publicly, you are opening yourself up to the scrutiny. Look at it this way. I have a policy like a moral policy to not talk about people's wives and girlfriends in Bachelor Nation if they're not in that ecosystem. Take Natalie Joy. That is Nick Viall's partner. I'm bringing her up because if she does something on her social media that's off-putting, I'm not going to cover it because I wouldn't want people to cover my wife. I want to protect people that didn't ask for this. Now, if Natalie were to be on a podcast and have a Bachelor comment, then it's fair game because you're entering the blogosphere that covers the show. And that's kind of like where we're at. Like if you're going to be in this universe, we're going to talk about it. So for Jen to make comments that Devin believes aren't 100% true, or that he says, you know what, she says this, here's my receipt, you figure it out. I don't blame him for that. For the people that have said, well, Dave, he should just go away. I would like to look you right in the eye and say, what would you do in this situation if you felt like you were misunderstood? If you felt like, you could own up to problems that you had, but there were other things that you just weren't guilty of. If you're guilty of one thing, like he admits to following Maria, if you're guilty of that, that doesn't mean that all the other things you are guilty of. And sometimes you look at a situation like this and you go, did Jen fly too close to the sun with some of her commentary? Tessa says, thanks for being objective and authentic, Dave. Natasha said, but he made her believe that he was a super loved boy and very supportive, so he lied to her. She picked him because he was safe and he wasn't. Well, Natasha, your opinion is welcomed, but that is a wild assumption of we don't know. So he's saying, I loved her. She's saying he pulled away. He could have felt as though she was demanding too much of him and he couldn't live up to that. You know, you have to remember, she goes on the show. She gets paid a lot of money. He goes on the show and he doesn't get anything out of it. He has to go back to work, right? So I don't know what his work entails, but I can imagine when you do go back to work and back to your real life. I mean, everyone's been on vacation where you fall in love with someone, right? Everyone's been on vacation where you're getting free daiquiris. You know, I remember one time back when I was a young whippersnapper. I remember, oh, by the way, Reality Steve just made a big facial gesture. Oh my gosh, what could that be? I have no idea, folks, what that could be, but Reality Steve just did that. He just did this in the background. So I kind of feel like, oh boy, either Olive Garden just announced that they're shutting down. Maybe they don't have, maybe they're no longer doing unlimited breadsticks. I don't know what it could be. But I do tell people this. There's a book called The Courage to be Disliked. And it's like, I have to stand by my thoughts and opinions on things. People can decide, oh, I'm the worst. I have the worst take possible. But I encourage people to re-listen to what I've said, watch this play out, and realize if her truth is here and his truth is here, I don't know if the truth is 50 right in the center or if it's closer to her or closer to him, but I guarantee you it is not everything she has said so far. That's it. That's what it comes down to. So, yeah, Steve's clearly the, it turns out they're, you know what? We have a breaking news. We have Courtney Robertson here, everybody, as we wait.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm in the man cave, and man, I've been following along, and Devin really fumbled the ball on the apology.
So to use a football reference here, we've got one of the greatest villains of all time, if not the best looking villain of all time. And I hate to use the V word here because you're so likable in real life. How does it, coming from the villain standpoint, you did not, your season, was there any thought about getting your truth out there? Like what would you have done differently if you were Devin here?
Here's the thing. I'm playing devil's advocate because I have been in his shoes. I've reached out to him. I've reached out to Sam M. And here's the thing. You come off the show, you get no media training. I know in some of the text messages, Jen said I have media training. But when you're a contestant on the show, you're kind of thrust into this. And I don't know. I mean, you have to figure out like what's the best way to do it. And it's really hard to defend yourself when you're coming off a show and everybody just saw this whole thing play out the way that they wanted it to. So I feel for him. I really do. I think the apology could have been better, but I did read through everything. And I wanted to say that I think the show makes the leads do so much PR and so much promotion. And Jen was saying things like, I'm exhausted. And it puts a lot of strain on the relationship after, just this special engagement.
Yeah, you know, I always tell people we don't have enough empathy here because no one knows what they go through. If anybody in Bachelor Nation knows what they go through, it's someone like you or Tino or somebody who doesn't feel like their full story was told.
It's funny you say that because Tino messaged me the other day and he's off social media for his mental health and he's happy in a relationship. And he said, do you have Devin's number? It sounds like he didn't watch, but he's like, from what I'm hearing, it seems like that's exactly what happened to me. You know, I had Tino on the podcast. You've met him. Great guy. So happy for him. He's in a happy relationship. But he told me stuff offline that I can put myself in Devin's shoes. When you're in that hot seat, it's really hard. I mean, I could have read receipts from Ben to like, I wrote a book about it. Here's the thing. And then I put it all in the book. But you want to defend yourself, but you also don't want to come off like an asshat because you can't really blame the edit. It's this like fine dance. Like, you want to like scream your truth from the rooftops, but unfortunately, the way it played out, it doesn't seem like he has a leg to stand on, and his approach, like he needs help. He needs some help with media. I messaged him, I'm like, phone a friend. Like I can help you navigate through some of this stuff.
Yeah, like Steve and I were saying, it was a failed launch of his first chance to speak. If I were him, I know Steve said he maybe go on Nick Vile's podcast. If I were him, I probably would have done the straight to camera thing. I just would have formatted it in a more bulletproof way, like you would in the courtroom, to say everything I'm going to share with you is irrefutable. My opinion, it's not going to make her look bad. I'd redact. And unfortunately, he left ammo in the gun, metaphorically, that could be used against him. He left.
But he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he's never had to do this before, and that's where I'm playing devil's advocate. And he fumbled. Is it at the 50-yard line or what is that? He fumbled
in the goal line got the goal line for sure. Now, now to speak about Tino, he had the personality type to say, I'll walk away from it. I'll go surfing. Yeah. Not everyone does that. In today's world, people, like, you can try to avoid the nasty stuff online, but people send it to you. Sometimes good friends will send it to you thinking, oh, did you see what they're talking about you? You cannot avoid it sometimes. And it's
just had my good friend Matt Felker on, and during that time he was like texting me, not knowing it would hurt my feelings, like, Courtney, everybody's saying this about you or that about you. I'm like, stop sending me this isn't helping. I'm drowning here. Like, and you do get depressed, and that's why I want to tell people, like you said, to have empathy, because I was severely depressed. And, you just never know what someone's going through. And Tino messaged me and he's like, I just want to reach out and just offer any support. And he's like, you'll never know how much you reaching out to me meant to me and my family. So, I
think it's so kind of you. You're such a sweet person. I think it's so kind of you to try to talk to people that everyone else is trying to distance themselves from. Now, because
I don't have a horse in the race. Like, if they want to come on my podcast, that's fine. But like, it's also truly to help, because I was drowning and I didn't really, like, even my friends, like you said, like, people calling, and it's just a really dark place to be. And he could have handled it better. And by the way, I have my Raciest Rose here award I got on them, and I want to offer this to Jen, because first of all, can I talk about the sexting? I'm wearing something a little bit more flirty today. She inspired me. I'm like, I was sexting, right? Sorry to switch, but I'm like, I'm trying to text Amerito at work today.
Wow, Courtney's ready to have another baby. It looks like she's been inspired.
But no, I mean, he shared some things that clearly he didn't know was in there. Like you said, he could have, woulda, shoulda. He should go. I don't know if he'll go on Nick's podcast. He's trashed him. That's the other thing, is he's clearly reading reality, Steve. He knows what people are saying about him. Like, would I have talked to Trista Sutter after my season? Hell no. She trashed me. Hi, Steve. Good morning.
Hey.
Sunshine.
Boy, that
the man here. No, I was so we were watching I was watching Reality Steve from backstage here, and it looked like Olive Garden was getting canceled or something. What was the commotion?
Oh yeah, my bank calling me 3 times in a row to tell me fraud alert. Somebody was ringing up $500 at Best Buy, $2,000 somewhere else, and did you add someone to your Zelle account by the name of so and so? No. Well, someone logged into your banking account this morning and tried to purchase. Did you approve these transactions? No. I'm like, Jesus. So now I have to get a new bank card sent out to me. Somebody was basically running my stuff in Georgia. And they're like, are you in Georgia right now? No, I'm in the middle of a podcast with Dave Neal. Damn it.
It could have been Devin for all we know. Maybe he was committing fraud.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard Courtney here, but no one knows more. Reality Steve, you've also been in the firing lane. You've had to deal with a lot of public scrutiny. Courtney, was it worse? Is it worse now? So you've got a nice little sort of sample size here. You were really on the spotlight as a very sort of debatable person, not in real life, but as far as the show's edit goes. Is it worse now as a content creator dealing with the vitriol that exists now, or back then?
Back then, oh, hands down. And all this stuff gets washed out to sea. It really does. And then it's like, I always joked about, like, I hate to say it, but like Whitney Houston died. I was on the cover of Us Weekly paparazzi following me for months. Steve knows this. And Whitney Houston passed away. And then I was like, I finally got some relief from the tabloids. But you can't win them all. Like you have to, he needs to get some help. And like, I'd be happy to share my contacts. You know how I am. I'm much like you, Dave. Like I have people in media, like he needs almost to do like an interview where he can write out what he says. Like he needs some damage control. And that's what PR is for. And you know what? Jen has that. And if I had to guess, this is a new take as well. They're probably not letting him do any podcasts. I know contestants that have been in his shoes and the villain, they didn't let me do anything. So that's why I was like, I'm going to write a book when my contract's up. They're probably not letting him talk. They probably won't even let him talk to Nick Viall, to be quite honest with you. They're probably pissed at him.
He did delete both of his Instagram reels. So
yeah. Oh, I'm sure he got a cease and desist from Warner or somebody. I'm sure Jen hopped on the horn and was like, you know, it's defamation of character. And I could have probably sued for that when they showed my skinny dipping scene without the censors on. Well, I'm surprised that they showed her nip slip on after the final rose. We haven't even talked about that.
You know, I never saw that. People saw that. I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
But, you know, not to make it a whole legal thing, but it's not defamation if it's real. It might be a violation of his contract in a different way. We don't know what that is. But that's a good point. I mean, Rachel Kirkconnell, I was begging her to, like, come out and talk in the show. Whether
they silence certain people.
They silence you, whether they have a right to or not. They're for sure trying to tell you, we will mess your day up if you know, like.
Oh, he's probably had a really sleepless night, a really bad night last night. And also Jen, she's probably giving him the business as well. But yeah, I mean, not to like yard sale too much, but these are just my thoughts because I know I asked for certain things and they shot everything down for me. I had no platform. I finally got Twitter, but by then it was too late. Like I was like, okay, well, I'm going to write a book about it. And they didn't like that either.
Well, you know, one of the other things just to jump in here is the fact that Jen's on Dancing with the Stars right now. Like she's having to deal with this. I'm sure she was in rehearsals all day. And
she's got a whole PR team though that, you know.
Yeah, anytime that she had to take a break in rehearsals yesterday, I guarantee she was on her phones like, what's the latest? What did he say? What did somebody just send me? I feel bad for her because you want to concentrate on what you're doing right now. I understand that he's not going to take that in consideration when he puts out his statement. Like we said, he has every right to defend himself. We think he just went about it the wrong way. Just wasn't the right thing to do. And now that he's deleted it twice, it's like, okay.
Well, it's already out there. Yeah, it's already out there. But for legal purposes, I'm sure that they said you have to take it down, you know.
Courtney, what's your thoughts on the people that say no one wants to hear from him? He shouldn't speak. Just go away. What's your thoughts on silence versus him, even if he did it the wrong way, trying to share his truth?
You know, I know you touched on this earlier about it, or Steve, you did. I listened to your podcast this morning about being similar to Laura Owens. And, you know, I love my true crime. And this isn't a crime, but I think that there are two sides to every story. Playing devil's advocate, I just think he needs a better approach. And I would love to hear the full story. You know, I think it's easy to jump on and pile on, but there's more to the story. You said Tino, he just went surfing and he was like, this is not good for my mental health. And everybody deals with things differently. I don't think he has the ego that's just going to sit back and take it. I think that he needs to share his side of the story. And I did read through the text and I did see him making an effort. Again, Steve, I don't know if you heard this. I feel like they like work these people, like the leads, like in the PR after the show. I think that affects the relationship too. It affected Ben and I's. He was going to these events and showing up at, you know, bachelorette parties. And, you know, she's saying like, I am so exhausted. I haven't eaten in a day and all that stuff. I think that was more interesting for me, just because I lived that with Ben being exhausted and doing all this promotion. I think the show needs to give these people a little bit of a break to work on the relationship. And I think that affects a lot of the relationships. Now she's on Dancing with the Stars. So even if it were to work out, I think that would have crushed it.
Yeah.
That's just my hot take. That's just my hot take.
Dancing with the Stars, even though this is not an opportune time, I think you couldn't be doing anything better. Like it's so
good for her. Mm-hmm.
She can just go work it's a good example. And, you know, we've seen these problems with Caitlin Bristow where people can't get off their phone and feel the need. And we all feel that way. You know, I woke up to change the baby's diaper at 3 a.m. yesterday and there was a subreddit thread about me and I didn't need to see that. And I didn't click on it, but I was like, I should be sleeping right now. And there's a whole group of people online
Yeah.
that hate that I'm trying to figure this thing out. And you just have to like, some people are better at saying, hey, what you think of me is none of my business. And then there's a lot of people pleasers out there. I don't know which Devin falls into, but he did mention that he was sort of like introverted, but I'm guessing from the outside looking in, it's an anxious avoidant where he pushed away as much as possible. And someone like Jen, who might be codependent, pushes towards someone who's pulling away. And it's that vicious cat, mouse chase that happens.
And she's a little racy. Here's my raciest rose for her. So, but I mean, I'm inspired. I mean, I think that you saw that come out. What you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is it came out in like a sexual way. But I don't want to get. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just.
Courtney, right when I rejoined, were you saying that you sent Umberto a sext today?
No, I was telling. I think I've been doing it wrong all these years. No, my texts to him are like, "Do you want to meet in the bunk bed later?" Like, I want to like step up my game. I'm wearing my elevated loungewear right now. Like, she can use it to empower people too. I mean, it's entertainment. I guess it was entertaining. We were on a group text. I'm like, my jaw was on the floor. What about you, Dave? I was sexting all wrong all these years, apparently.
I said it to Dave, and Dave said it earlier. Like, while he shouldn't have posted those texts, like I wasn't surprised that Jen sent sex to her fiance. Like, they're long distance, so it didn't surprise me in the least. What surprised me was he posted them. Like, that shouldn't have never been seen by the public. But to think that two people in their 20s that are engaged and just met on a reality show are yearning for each other's bodies, like I totally get that. And
that's all you do at the happy couples for the most part anyway, because you can't see each other.
We read about that in your book, Courtney. We know all about that.
I love spilling tea. And hey, we're all adults here.
How does the happy couple work? Do you immediately like do you walk straight to the bedroom, or is it like, do you get appetizers? Because don't they give you free food? Because if it were me, I would put my food order in. Then I would say, wow, they've got 20 minutes before they get here. That's enough time for a 10-minute massage, and I'm not a marathon sprint. You know what I mean here. So
well, we've got plenty of time. You can't go outside. Usually they have like amazing pools or hot tubs. So I mean, it's a whole stealth thing, which was kind of fun. But I had my fake name and his fake name in my phone. I liked her fake name, by the way, Coco Chanel. I was Kate Middleton when I was traveling, just to touch on that. But you get there and you're so excited to see them. I would like set the mood, light some candles. I got there once before him up in like the Bay Area, and I put on like Bon Iver. And yeah, I mean, it's just, we had a full-on grocery store list from Whole Foods. You name it, we cooked it. And wine, really nice wine. And then you just, I even said like sometimes there was just not much to do. So
yeah, you watch TV and play board games, right? And
we wanted to paint one day. It was like we felt bad. It's Mansfield, Adam Mansfield, who's a great guy. He had to travel with me too. So they fly you first class. That is like, I would say, like, hopefully that they utilize that, because that's like the best time, the happiest time we ever were in the relationship, I would say, before reality really slapped us in the face.
Yeah. Look, and I've addressed this ad nauseum. I just feel like these relationships don't work out in some ways because the fairy tale that was created on the show can't be lived up to. Find me.
Right.
You know what? I met my wife on a bus. Okay. Meet people in a low expectation place, and then you can work your way up to a studio apartment. Finally, we got a 3-bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, we meet on a sticky floor of a bar somewhere. Don't meet in Hawaii. You can't follow Hawaii. Now, we are at an hour and we're only a third of the way through this video. Should we bail on the video? I mean, everyone can watch it. It already exists online. Do you have any? Does he say anything? Should we play the last few seconds? Like, is there anything?
Yeah, but fast forward to like the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Sorry about that. Okay, let's play the last 2 minutes of it. And, we don't have to share, because there is a lot of redundancy here. Like I said, it just was not done.
Very confused by.
Here we go. Here's the last 3 minutes.
in regards to this whole clubbing with Jeremy thing, as I said before, I was in New York City on business to meet up with a client. Jeremy and I had been in contact post-show to hang out. We had scheduled a meet up while we were there, and that was that. I also have friends in the city that I've known for a long time. Some of them I even went to college with. So I really don't think that's prevalent, but, I'm just going to go ahead and, release that information as well. So, again, it wasn't a week after our breakup either. It was a week prior to AFR. I really just want to clear the timeline on that because, again, as I said on stage, I felt like everything was kind of being condensed down to a certain point, and that's not true. Yeah, being on the show and rewatching the episodes back is something that most people, probably a lot of people, will not and can never understand. I had to clearly watch myself play second to someone else, and that's okay. We moved on from that. I wasn't her first choice. But again, a relationship is two people, and that's part of growing together. I don't fault her for the feelings that she had towards Marcus, but I wasn't informed of that even during our relationship. I was only made aware of that during the decision of me communicating less post breakup, after a breakup, almost a month later. So that's hard to go through. And at that point in time, I felt like my decisions were reaffirmed in breaking up with her in the first place. I felt like I had made the right choice. So yeah, maybe I was a little.
Okay.
So the point that he's making here is, I played second
yeah.
fiddle to Marcus or whatever. But the problem was the final rose ceremony was May 16th. They obviously dated from May 16th until August 1st. The episode where he's claiming I don't know, wherever he wants to claim, hometowns, overnights, that was all after they broke up. So he can't say that, I saw you being close to Marcus and I saw you saying all this stuff to Marcus. That's why I was pulling away. No. Because those episodes aired in August. You guys were already broken up in August. So
that's just a confirmation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the timeline there isn't adding up. If he's using I was watching the Marcus episodes and all of a sudden, I'm seeing this for the first time. Wait a second, I'm taking second fiddle. I never thought he was taught when I watched the show that Jen was more into Marcus than she was into Devin. Him saying that he took second fiddle to Marcus, I don't buy that for a second. She was into him the whole time. She defended him in the very beginning when the guys were turning on him. And now my camera went out.
All right, we lost Steve's camera. We still got your audio. That's all we need. So Chris Jenner said this, and by the way, our maybe the guy who the guy who stole your bank accounts coming through your cameras. So Chris Jenner posted this, and Chris Jenner is a good friend of ours who covers the Laura Owens trial. She's really good with picking through things, and she said Jen is the one who literally tried breaking up with him first over text in June. He was hurt after that, and you can see it in the lack of heart emojis from that point on until the second time she did. And then she continues and says, after the second time she broke up with him over text, he was very hurt and stopped saying I love you as much, but still texted her daily. Now, listen, this is the thing that people haven't really pieced through because his text, he shared too much information, but this would be the type of thing to share. Like, oh, you think I'm the bad one for breaking up with her? Here's where she first broke up with me. And then you could be very specifically sharing that. I think that would help the perspective. It does feel like when they fight, she breaks up with him. And it's kind of like that, we've all been in those relationships. I mean, to be quite honest, my wife's broken up with me probably 35 times. You know what I mean? And I go, sure, honey. Okay, I'll go cook some dinner. But some people, they push you away, they pull you away. It's toxic as hell. But 2024, we live in a toxic world. Steve, do you want me to add you back in? Let me just, I don't know if you want.
Yeah, you might as well. This is what a
Where's
morning.
Stephanie?
Jesus.
Where's Stephanie Parker? By the way, she was gonna hop in.
Oh, was she?
I thought so. Maybe not.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I didn't get a text from her. But anyhow, let's go. We're at the last. Let's play the last minute here.
A bit more calloused leading up to the last couple of weeks towards AFR, but it wasn't intentional. It wasn't, something that I felt like I was doing out of malice. It was just an important thing that I felt I needed, which was space. And as hard as moving on from a relationship is, that is a part of life. And I was trying to go through those avenues of life for myself and figure those things out for myself. Overall, I'm not trying to play the victim here. I really, really don't want that. I'm not having this video made intended for that. I'm just really here to try and explain my feelings and my side of the story because, again, my truth I feel is important in this situation too. the things that were said about our relationship were expressed and incredibly inaccurate. And I just wanted to do my best and felt it was best to speak on the circumstances of the situation. And to Jen, I really, really am sorry for the way things played out. My intentions were to never hurt you, and I'm sorry for that hurt that I've caused.
It begs the question, right? If you love somebody enough, do you do you stay quiet and take the hit? I don't know. I bet you have 100 people, if they were in this scenario, would try to get their truth out there. It just wasn't executed right. I mean, I don't know what else we can say about that. Steve,
let's get him on the horn. I'm gonna have to go look for his number. Maybe we can cold call him soon. I gotta go, guys, because I gotta go get the baby. H has got to go to work. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Courtney Robertson. She's got her casual. What did you call what you're wearing?
Elevated loungewear.
From the Elevated podcaster, Courtney Robertson. Thank you.
And I put it on today. Tasha knows what that's about.
All right. Well, have a go and tell Umberto we said hi. I'll have to send him some, some extra Red Bulls for tonight.
Bye, guys.
All right, there it is. Courtney Robertson. She just closes her laptop. I love what a mom. She doesn't even sign out. She just shuts her computer. I think she's still there. Anyhow, Steve, did we leave anything on the table, or did we get it all?
Well, I missed about 10 minutes in the middle, but I think you probably covered it. Like I said, I said this on my podcast this morning. Am I on audio wise?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. It's not Laura Owens-esque, because Laura Owens is a criminal and she's being investigated criminally. But my whole point that I was trying to make was, it's just very hard to believe. It seemed like I said earlier in his text, he's picking and choosing. It's kind of like when I would respond back to Laura and I would ask specific questions. Well, but Laura, Clayton said this. What about this? What about this bump? And now and she would just avoid that stuff and just talk in generalities back to me. That's what I feel like I'm getting from Devin. He can share all the texts that he wants, but how do we know that other texts that he were sending her wasn't chewing her out, being a dick to her, pulling away? Like, it's very convenient for him to put out this video and not tell the full story. And he wasn't specific about addressing certain things that Jen said. He's just like, hey, this was my side of the relationship. I was like, I just don't see how that was a fair assessment of his side of the relationship when he was blacking out things in those text messages. It's like, it's very hard to just be like, oh, gotcha, Devin. Perfect. Totally understand your side now. I'm just probably even more confused. And obviously there's stuff that we don't know. There is two sides. I just didn't think he presented his side very well.
I hear you. And I think, to be quite honest, he's getting a lot of good free advice from Courtney, you, and myself. Redo, take your time, take a break, take a few weeks off, and if you do want to share your side, I think do it long form. What else can you say? It was botched, and it's a cautionary tale for people moving forward. But like Courtney said, it's like, look, they're not media trained. He didn't know, what he was getting into. And by the way, for anyone out there who thinks they would have done better, like you're vastly underestimating the feelings of panic and sheer anxiety that come from having a whole internet hate you. Anyhow, Steve, you got your YouTube channel. Everyone, it's tagged in the title here, so people can go subscribe right now. And any other things to promote?
No, just other than my weekly podcast tomorrow. It'll be episode number 408 is going to be this video, even though for the last 15 minutes you don't even see me. The audio will be in your podcast feed tomorrow for episode 408. It will be this podcast. Yeah, but what a morning. I mean, when Bank of America called me 3 times in a row, I was like, something must be going on. And yeah, somebody hacked into my account, added me in as one of my Zelle people. They're like, do you know this person? I'm like, no. They said, are you in Georgia right now? I said, no. They're like, well, we have a $499 charge at Best Buy. We have $1,500 at this place. I'm like, no. So now they have to send me out a new debit card. They're going to overnight it. And it's just like, great. And I just had a fraud alert last month. I just got a new debit card in August of 2029. Now I'm going to have a new one in September of 2029. It's just like, this is so frustrating.
Well, last thoughts. How did it feel as a Swiftie hearing her big endorsement?
I mean, I knew that she was a Democrat. That didn't surprise me. I guess maybe the timing. I mean, it was like literally right after the debate ended, almost like within 5 minutes, 10 minutes of that thing ending, she puts up her endorsement. Not surprised at all. She has vouched in the past for Democratic people in the state of Tennessee that didn't end up winning. But as you covered, this is huge. This is a woman that, increases the GNP in cities that she goes to perform. So don't think that, just because a celebrity endorsed Kamala Harris, that all of a sudden Kamala is going to win. It doesn't necessarily mean Kamala is going to win, but this endorsement from Taylor definitely will go a long way for sure.
And I think she did a good job of saying, this is who I'm voting for. Do your research, but you should vote, Yeah. And that's what it comes down to.
And gave the link too. And gave the link to be like, hey, this is, she's like, hey, go register. If you aren't registered, here's the link to go register. So yeah, I mean, she can really do no wrong in my eyes, but no, I knew she was a Democrat. I was wondering if and when she was going to make a public statement, and she did it last night, and I thought she did it well. She didn't sit there and rip Trump. She didn't sit there and call him names or say what an awful person she thinks he is. It's just like, I've done my research. I'm voting for Harrison Walls, and you do your own research. You vote for who you want to, but I'm just letting you know I'm putting my vote behind this party. And here's what you need to do. You definitely need to register. You can't vote without registering. So here you go.
The last thing we hopefully will find out from her before she goes to bed, does she watch Reality Steve? I
know. Yeah. Is she reading Reality Steve before she goes to bed? I saw an interview with Selena Gomez where Selena Gomez says her and Taylor talk about Vanderpump Rules with each other on text. Yes. See that? So if they're talking about Vanderpump Rules, are we really that far removed that they could possibly be talking about Reality Steve? And I will say this for Selena Gomez, when everything was going down at the end of Peter's season, I remember the day after Peter's finale, Selena Gomez was hanging out with Maddie Pruitt. So the fact that Reality Steve is in that, there's no way that Maddie Pruitt doesn't know who Reality Steve is. And who knows that maybe she was talking about Reality Steve with Selena Gomez, who then indirectly talked about Reality Steve with her best friend, Taylor Swift. This could be major, but I got to believe Taylor Swift has heard of the guy that spoils The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Reality Steve.
Imagine the podcast bump. Imagine checking your monetization the day after Taylor Swift endorses you. You're going to be buying us all. I'm going to be stealing $500 from your Bank of America. Give me your Zelle, Steve. You're rich. Well, dude, we'll talk. The private chats have been insane. And thanks again for joining me today. And everyone can go check Steve out, of course, at his daily podcast. And keep go. Any news on Grant before we go? Any new updates?
No, I haven't heard anything. I know they start fairly soon. They usually start filming Bachelor between like September 19th through 20th, 21st, around that time. So we are maybe 7 to 10 days away from Grant starting filming his season. So I haven't heard anything yet. I haven't heard any contestants, but that should be coming soon because they usually release the contestants on Facebook about 3 days before filming starts. So keep it updated there.
And by the way, I mean, what does this say? Like this culture from Bachelor Nation, the best person to benefit from this whole story is Caitlin Bristow. Last week, everyone wanted her throat. Now everyone forgets she exists. So it's the news cycle moves fast here, but that's why we're doing daily stuff. But thanks again, man, and I'll talk to you shortly.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Reality Steve, everybody. That was it. I'm going to go live on Patreon right now, patreon.com/Dave Neal. And I'll be giving you my behind the scenes thoughts over there. We have a thing called Work with Dave. You can work with me, literally just watch me get my stuff done. It's $5 a month, patreon.com/Dave Neal. You can also join for free if you want the free version, and you'll get updates as they come. It's kind of like a mailing list is my way to directly interact with you guys. We've hung out at 1,000 people in the chat all morning, so I appreciate all of you guys. You guys have been really great from what I saw. So I appreciate everyone hanging in there and trying to be kind. We need more of that. We can disagree about things, but let's keep bringing kindness to the world, kindness and grace. It will get us far, folks. Thanks again. And I'll be back this afternoon for the Rush Hour podcast. Link in the comment section if you want to listen to that free podcast, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody.